Hello everyone, this class is led by Tatiana Zubova, an artist and an art teacher. And today we'll paint a very simple landscape. It would be very easy. Many subscribers tell us that they have watched countless YouTube videos, attended numerous painting courses, both on and offline, and yet they have that fear of starting a painting on their own. Also, there are a lot of people who haven't started painting at all, despite the fact that there are many videos of various online painting schools, including ours, which provide detailed step-by-step painting instructions. Anyway, the fear of painting is there. As we grow older, we tend to have more and more fears. Our viewers are grown-up people, and our today's video will be for those of them who are afraid to start painting their first, even a very simple picture. So if you are one of them, or you know people who are overwhelmed by the fear that stops them for starting to paint, invite them to watch this tutorial. Please join me in creating the painting, and I'm sure each of you will succeed. It will be a very easy task. Let's have a look at the materials for today's tutorial. I have a sheet from an oil canvas texture paper block here. I've described it several times already and will not go into detail today. Next, I have a DIY palette with a plastic sheet cover. As you finish your work, you just take it off and dispose of it. No need to clean anything. And now, the oil paints which we need for today. We'll work with a very limited palette today. Look what's on it. First, titanium white. You should have plenty of white oil. It should be titanium white, not zinc, not titanium zinc white, only titanium white oil paint. Then come the primary colors. I will show you a color wheel. Here it is. You know it perfectly well. If by any chance you do not know anything about the color wheel, feel free to visit our YouTube channel for the instructional video, referenced in the description box below. There you would find very detailed color theory pieces, the nature of the color, human perception of the colors, how we can mix all these palette colors out of the primary colors, and many, many more. So, primary colors on the color wheel are yellow, red, and blue. As you may see, for this painting, we have selected exactly these colors: yellow, red, and blue. However, I have 3 blues here. This is because we're going to paint a winter landscape, and for this we would need 3 blue hues, which would differ from each other. As you remember, in our series for the beginners, we used only 1 blue hue and 2 other primary colors. And today we're going to extend our palette a bit, but it will still stay very restricted. Look, yellow hue will be cadmium yellow light. There are 2 shades of red here, cadmium red light and cadmium red dark, the latter being simply a leftover from a previous project. So you may take any red color you have, cadmium red light or dark. It may be magenta. In fact, any red color. Next, we have ultramarine light, cobalt violet dark, and indigo. We will need all 3 blue colors today. Now, let's prepare the color mixes for the painting. I take a palette knife. It is a metallic tool used for color mixing and for painting. Today we'll use it mostly for color mixing. We will also make some finishing strokes on our painting with its help. We mix colors in the following way. We put the knife on the edge and scoop out some paint. The paint should be on the back side of the blade, while the front side remains almost clean. I am going to work with the back side of the blade. I put the paint here and take a small bit of red, like this, and add it to the white. Now let's mix the colors. Put the knife on the edge, collect the entire blend with the knife and smash it with the flat side of the knife just like this. Do not make many small scale movements like these. Go on a broader scale. 1, 2, 1, 2. We have mixed pale pink color. Leave it as it is. Now to the blue colors. I clean off my palette knife with a towel. It's always clean. We will start our blue range with violet. I take a bit of cobalt violet dark, put it here on the palette, and add white in a proportionally bigger amount. Look what we will do. We would mix the whole range of violet colors. You may begin with the dark shades. Let me show you. I mix violet with a bit of white. The resulting color is dark violet. Then I add more white and get a lighter violet shade, like this. Then I scoop out a tiny bit of paint out of that mix and add still more white to the split. We get a third color, a very light violet, like this. In fact, we have mixed a tone scale of the violet color. What is tone? It's a light or dark shade of the color. Here we have dark, medium, and light violet. We have created a tone scale for the violet color. If you are a beginner in oil painting, I recommend you pre-mix such tonal scales for all the colors that you need for the picture. And only then you start painting. The working process will be much easier then. As you advance in your skills level, you will not have to do this. You will mix colors automatically as required for your project. The next color we will mix is violet blue. We will take part of that mix out and place it somewhere here. Violet and ultramarine. Look at the lovely saturated bluish violet color we've got. We may even add more violet. I will drag out part of the mix downwards and add white to the split. Again, move the mix over a large area. 1, 2, 1, 2. This is indigo. Look at the color. In fact, it's a combination of phthalo blue and black. We will use this color to paint the darkest shadows. Well, I think that is what we would begin with. We have mixed several violet colors using white, and we have blended these two colors with white. We have created this tone scale. Okay, let's start. I take this brush. It's an angular brush. It's easy to use, especially for the beginners in oil. Why so? We are accustomed to holding any writing stuff like this. I mean pencils, pens, markers, and so on. And we are accustomed to write like this. And how should we hold a brush? Like this one, for example. The brush should be under the palm, and we work like this. You may find it difficult at the beginning, and an angular brush, not a flat one, will help you to master the process. It will allow you to cover large areas in one go, and you will find working with it very satisfying. I've nearly forgotten to mention the solvent. I have a solvent dipper nearby. The solvent I will be using is an odorless turpentine. I dip the brush into the solvent and remove the excess liquid. You may see that the excess solvent remains on the tissue. And now let's load our brush up with the paint. We put it on both sides of the brush in a crisscross movement. 1, 2, 1, 2. You may see first the palm of my hand, then its back. 1, 2, 1, 2. And we will add more liquid to create color transition. Before we start working in color, we should outline the main objects of our painting. I will take a brush like this, and with this blue color, I will make the initial drawing, mapping our main objects. Here we would have our foreground, starting a bit lower on the left and ending somewhat higher on the right. Here it is. We will paint some snow here, and over there we will have some trees and fir trees. Besides, we will depict an evening light source, the midnight moon. If we imagine a cross that would divide the picture in 4 quadrants, if we draw the middle line here and here, our moon should be placed in the upper right corner, somewhere here. The upper part of the picture, the sky itself, should be visually divided into several parts. Look, the first part, down to here, will be painted pink of various shades. Next, the remaining part of the painting will be divided into several parts. Here, I would have light violet, then medium violet, and the remaining part would be dark violet. It's very simple so far. I add some solvent and load up my brush with the paint heavily and start blocking in the color. Look, we just cover the whole background with the paint, just blocking in the color. We leave no white spaces, do not be afraid. We have outlined the boundaries, and we go with this pink color down to this line here. We have created a solid pink layer. Do not use too much solvent though. Your paint should not run. Look, I pick up a sufficient amount of paint to create a solid layer. However, the paint is not too thick to interfere with the blending later. We are done with the blocking in, and now I'll use the same brush for the next color. I will not clean the brush or do anything else to it. The next color is this light violet. We have also indicated the boundaries for this color block. I add some solvent. I do this to improve the paint flow. Our canvas has no priming, and we have a relatively soft synthetic brush, which differs from a stiff bristle one. To allow our synthetic brush to cope with a thick layer of paint, we use a solvent, turpentine, for example. I add a bit more paint to each side of the brush, and we go on with blocking in. Do not leave any non-colored spots between the two blocks. You may even let one color cover the other at the boundary. No white paper should be seen through. Okay, we've done a good job. And now I'll use this same brush to pick up the medium violet color. A bit of the solvent. I apply the paint to both sides of the brush, and we move on with our third violet color here. Again, we have a boundary for this block. Again, no white spots should be left. The colors nearly merge into each other. Look, though we have a slight rise here, do not try to repeat this pattern in the sky. Our sky lines are straight and do not duplicate the terrain shapes. Okay, I'm done with this block and I move on to the dark color. Look, I'll take a bit of this mix and blend it with the blue one here. Again, we use our top violet and blend this bluish color. This color block will be much darker. Some more liquid. And we keep building this area up. Look, we have a very straight line going up to that slope. And here we have a small area which we would cover with very dark, almost black indigo. You might have noticed that I do not clean off my brush. You may even see the paint's remains, going from pink here at the heel of the brush to light violet and to indigo, which I have just picked up. So no brush cleaning, just let the paint do the job. Now we block in this area right to this rise in the lowest boundary. Here we have the resulting color gradation. I clean off my brush at last. I just wipe this beautiful color spectrum off the brush. You may still see it here. I do not wash the brush in the solvent, I just dip it in. And then wipe off the excess liquid into a towel. In this case, it's a paper towel, or it may be a piece of a toilet paper. Be sure to have a whole pile of toilet paper pieces handy. You may also use paper napkins, a piece of old cloth, in fact, anything that can be used to clean the brush. Of course, you should have a garbage bin close by. Your working space should be your comfort zone. Make it very cozy to work in. Now, with a clean brush, I would pick up a bit of this blue mix at the bottom, and I'll block in this area here. We may add a bit more of this blue color into the mix. Keep building this area up. In some places you may add more violet color. In other places add more ultramarine blue. The main thing is to avoid leaving blank areas and to cover this part completely with the paint. And voila, the underpainting is ready. Now, would any of you tell me that you will not be able to do this? I'm sure that any of you can do this. Anyone with any skills level is capable of taking the paint, making several palette mixes and putting one layer, then another, and so on. It's kid stuff. It's not hard at all. It's the easiest thing you can do. So do not be afraid and just do it. This would be the starting point of your creative activities. Your next projects would be more challenging. But for now, just start with this and keep on rolling. Look, I take all the paint off the brush. Then I dip it into the solvent. Then again, I will clean the brush thoroughly. Now, my next step would be to make a good color transition in the sky. The transition should be very smooth. Now, how do we go about creating these color transitions? I use this same brush. I do not change anything. I will start at the border of the light and the dark parts. As you might have noticed, in the sky we progress from light to darker, still more dark and more dark to the darkest spot. So I start at the border of the two color blocks, work with just these two colors, and leave the rest of the painting for the time being. In your mind, just divide this upper block and this lower block in halves horizontally, and while blending, I'll move only within this range. I will not go to the very top or to the very bottom of the two blocks. I put the brush at the color divide like this, and start making back and forth movements like these to distribute the paints. You might have some firm edges left, but don't be afraid and don't try to smooth them out further upwards. Just leave them as they are for now. Before blending the colors, check whether the paint is of the right consistency. Just to the touch, this finger is clean, and as you may see, I have enough paint left on it. That means that we have too much liquid. If you have the same, just take a piece of paper and soak up some of the excess liquid, just like this. Look how much pink we have on the paper. Then do it again. It'll make the blending easier. If the whole piece of the paper is in paint, that means that we had too much liquid. Go on removing the excess liquid. Just light touches, do not press too hard, the paper will do the job. Just light touches. Then repeat the process here. Remove the excess liquid. If you apply too much paint, that would also interfere with the blending. To remove the excess paint, take a palette knife and peel it off like this. As you can see, I don't have anything here, practically nothing. If you have some paint on the knife, just continue removing it. Use this paper to collect the excess paint. If you do everything the way I showed, we would have the right amount of paint and liquid to create a smooth color gradation. If you fail to achieve a perfect blending, there's a 95% chance that you either have too much liquid that makes your paint runny, then use a napkin to remove the excess liquid, or in the contrary, there's not enough liquid, the paint is too dry to blend. Then in the first case, reapply the colors again, take more paint, and in the second case, when you have too much paint and the paint is too fat and it moves around preventing proper blending, just take a palette knife and remove the excess paint. It might also happen that you have mixed too little color, barely enough to cover the canvas, and this amount of paint will be insufficient for blending. All you have to do is to mix more paint and apply it onto the canvas. If you follow these recommendations, you will get a perfect blend. We move on. Work on the color block's edges, moving up and down like this. If you squint, you should see a smooth color transition. Look, here at the top we still have firm edges. I clean off the brush and continue blending, like this. You may take a larger brush to speed up the process and work in a quicker manner. The paint is almost dry here, so there would be no sharp edges. You may apply large strokes here. Once you have completed working on the block's boundary, you may go further upwards and downwards. Look, we have blended two colors. Your blend shouldn't be absolutely perfect. You should simply see the smooth transition when you squint. The resulting color wouldn't be even. Some spots would have a thicker paint layer, but that would reflect the uneven air density. It would make our painting more true to life. Then this brush here, I'll clean it and put the second one aside. So I clean off the brush and move on. Again, I work with these two colors only. I don't touch the pink one, I don't touch the dark violet one, only these two adjacent colors. I blend them moving up and down in a crisscross manner. Continue moving crosswise, up and down. I clean off the brush and start spreading these colors upwards. The brush strokes become larger and more widespread. You may even use your fingers for blending, like this. On my channel, you may find a tutorial on how to create a color gradation. Watch it and practice. And now I go downwards. We will pick up some of this violet color and move down here. We then continue upwards with a dry brush. If you want to depict some air currents, you may apply the brush strokes in one direction to show the air movements, but this is not what we should do today. Our tasks would be very easy to complete. We have completed blending here, and what is left is to blend this indigo. Do not go too high, just like this. Now look, we've managed to create this mystic winter atmosphere and a hint of air currents. You may see a perfect color gradation with distinct brushstrokes. This bluish snow down here started to glow. We have done a good job. So, how are you doing? Have you managed to achieve a similar result? Now let's move on. Look, we may now choose to add the midnight moon to our evening landscape. So what do we do? I would use my finger. It's easier to work with your middle finger. Mine is already in paint though, so I'm going to clean it. And if I succeed, I'll work with it or use another one. It's much easier to work with your middle finger, so if you have a similar problem, just go and wash your hands. Okay, I managed to clean my finger, and now I'll pick up some red color. Let's mix it with the whitish blend here. I pick up this resulting color on the tip of my middle finger and look for the right spot for our moon. Let's see. If we again divide our painting in 4 quadrants in our mind, it's better to place the moon in the upper right one, somewhere here. Look, I place my finger like this and start smashing the color into the canvas. It is a wise move not to use a yellow color to paint the moon, but start with the red one. Why do we do this? Actually, we simply want to avoid dirty colors, since if you mix violet and yellow, you will get a dirty gray and grayish-brown colors. To avoid this while painting the sky, we would use red at the beginning. I readjust the mix on the palette and start spreading the color over the canvas like this. I clean my finger regularly. Try to achieve smooth transitions in this moon glow. Here we have the source of the light, and then the light goes sidewise as a red glow. Some pale pink will be used at the top. Only when we're done with the red colors, we may use yellow. I will clean my middle finger again and pick up some yellow. We will get an orange color. It'll be more on the yellow side. With this color, I start painting the moon. It will be placed here. It shouldn't be in sharp contrast with the background. Now I will scoop out some white with a palette knife and place it here. I clean my finger as thoroughly as I can. And now I would place the white paint in the center of our moon. Look, I have this white paint on my finger, and I place my finger right in the center and start going round in circular motions. We have our moon here. If we want to make it brighter, we should mix yellow with white and apply this rather thick mix here in the center of the moon. Look what a bright glowing moon we have here. Now we have to make our sky alive. I suggest we add some clouds. I take this angular brush, clean it, and pick up this violet blue color. Let's start painting the clouds. Look how I paint the clouds with such brush strokes. Just a few dabs, moving back and forth. Then do some blending with your finger. Try to create firm edges at the top of the cloud and soft edges at the bottom. Some clouds may be made darker, but they shouldn't differ too much in value. Again, use your finger. You should use the whole body of the finger pulp. Look, I have it all covered with paint. Let's paint a cloud here as well. Just like this, with your finger, do some more blending. Here we may have something like this. Now we will go down and add some darker cloud here, for example. Again, use your finger. Try to create different cloud shapes. By the way, there is a video at our channel showing how to paint clouds. So before painting clouds on the canvas, just practice doing this on your palette. And visit our channel for clouds painting video. You will find very clear step-by-step instructions on how to paint clouds there. Okay, now with a clean finger, I would use this one, I will add somewhat brighter color over here. If you find painting clouds difficult, just leave the sky as it was without any clouds at all. The next element we would add is fir trees. Our winter forest cannot do without Christmas trees. I take a filbert brush with rather stiff hair, add a bit of solvent and remove the excess liquid just to leave the brush slightly wet. I pick up some indigo and a little bit of the solvent. And I start painting fir trees. Where should we place them? The tallest one would be here. We paint a vertical line to indicate its height. We will paint a shorter one here next to it. Then another one, something in between. Mind the gaps between the trees. They shouldn't stand at equal distances from each other. So we'll place this tree at a bigger distance from the second one. A small tree here and a taller one over there. That takes care of our fir trees. Now, I cover the whole brush with the paint, putting it almost flat on the palette, and I will work with the side of the brush. My brush would nearly lie on the canvas right now. It would be almost flat against it. That is what you should bear in mind. Leaving the very top of the tree intact, put the side of the brush against the canvas and start putting strokes to either side of the tree with the edge of the brush, just like that. Look what we get. It's nothing but a fir tree. Now I put my brush almost flat like this and make sideway movements like these, painting a fir tree. The thing to remember, to make our tree more natural, add some variety to the shape of the branches. Here we'll add some bushes, so details do not matter. Leave some gaps in the foliage. There shouldn't be 100% paint covered. Let's move on to a smaller tree, or better to this one here, for example. I apply different strokes all the time. We leave gaps in the foliage. Sometimes I go almost flat. And here at the bottom, paint is applied in a thicker layer. Now let's reproduce the whole process here on the palette. First, I paint the trunk with such dabbing strokes going top down. Then I leave, say, 5 millimeters at the top and apply a stroke like this. There, we have our first mark. Then I go to the left of the trunk, mark number 2, to the right 3, this way 4, as if we are going down the stairs. Leave some gaps here and put several strokes over each other. So this is how we paint our fir tree step by step. I recommend you paint a fir tree right here on the palette, maybe several trees. It's not necessarily that you succeed at your first go. Maybe you would even fail your 10th tree. Just keep on trying on your palette. And when you finally get something like this, do your final drawing on the canvas. The main thing is not to be afraid. Even if your tree turns not to be perfect, still, you should have a try. You will definitely succeed. It's very easy. You may take a smaller brush for smaller trees, or you may continue with the same brush. Let me show you how to paint with a brush like this. It's also a filbert brush, but a smaller one. I can take some excess paint off this brush. In fact, we act the same way. We leave a little part at the top and make the first stroke here. The first stroke is the most difficult to make since we're trying to shape the top of the tree, while everything down there is just a group of random strokes. Look, if I take that part out, all we have left is a group of brush marks, while it's the top that suggests the shape of a fir tree. I make another stroke, then there should be a gap in the foliage. Look, here you may see the trunk. Such tree shapes look very natural. And though our painting is of a decorative nature, this method would be used to paint realism as well. Make your strokes bigger and bigger. Go stepwise. We often say in the shape of a fir tree, or as if you're drawing the staircase steps. Here the strokes become still wider, and the branches may intervene. Look at this beauty. We have 2 trees left. Again, leave part of the top intact. And then go down just like this. And the last one. Here on the left, then on the right. Some branches would be bigger, some smaller. Let's make it really wild, very natural in shape. Try to avoid regularities in shape, like these ones. This is wrong, you see? You mustn't do this. Vary the shape and size of the branches, just like this, making them thick here and creating gaps there. Try to follow the following pattern, here and there. Avoid straight lines. This is wrong. Try to follow this pattern working downwards, as if you were going down the hill on your skis. Okay, we're done here, and now let's proceed further. Though I suggest we put another tree here. Since we started painting fir trees today, let's complete this group with another small beauty. The tree in the distance should be lighter. The closer the trees are to us, the more contrast between light and dark you would observe. And finally, very small trees out there, close to the horizon line. They're barely visible in the distance, just a suggestion of the trees. Now we have a beautiful moonlight over here. At night, the moon should cast some light on the trees, so that is why our fir trees would have some highlights. But do remember that the source of light is the moon, so the highlights should be painted on this side of these group trees. So the illuminated side will be this one, the right side. And as for this group of trees, the left side will be illuminated. Let's use the same brush. I would simply clean it off. I will mix some paint with a palette knife. I mix blue and white, adding a bit of violet. The paint is thick, as you may see. I pick it up on both sides of the brush. So what I do next, I apply the same strokes to our trees, but leave their left side more dark. Just tapping lightly. Let's readjust the paint. We have a hint of snow on the trees. Down here, the strokes will be like this, as if everything is covered with the snow. And now to the other side. Apply some strokes at the bottom, suggesting that something is growing there. And now, the most interesting part, the bright moonlight. I take more white and some pink. I load up my brush heavily with paint. And here at the side which faces the moon, I will apply highlights. Just a few random strokes. I readjust the paint again and work on this tree. The touches are very light. If your brush picks up some paint from the underlayer, clean it off. Excess paint can be removed like this. The remaining paint can be wiped off with a tissue like this. So if your brush starts creating dirt, clean it off. Now this is the most interesting part of the painting. We start here at the left side. Just a few little dabs. Our fir trees start to glow. It's so beautiful. Just like this. Please note that we don't apply highlights everywhere, only in the places where the moonlight is likely to hit the trees. This bottom part here wouldn't be lit by the moon, while that tree over there is in the direct moonlight. So a highlight here would be justified. Now let's move to the ground. We will use a palette knife to pick up this bluish light color. Just this amount of the paint. So what we do now, with a very light touch, we move in this direction and spread the paint, creating the effect of a snowy ground. Since I exercise a very light pressure, this layer is not solid. So this is exactly what we need to suggest the snow on the ground. Some parts will be more blue. Put the knife like this and work downwards. And here as well. Okay, the palette is on my way. I'll move it a bit. Follow this direction and move downwards. We will need more white paint. I pick up the paint with a palette knife like this. Look how much paint I have on this side. And I apply this paint onto the canvas. This part right under the moon would be the lightest one. All the rest would be darker. We come to the most interesting part of the painting. Some pink snow right under the moon. This would be a well-lit area. To reinforce it, you may even add some yellow strokes, but do not use too much yellow. Add some pink elsewhere, but only to the places which are hit by the moonlight. Okay, our winter landscape is ready. Let's remove the tape and look at the result. So the landscape painting has been completed. Thank you for watching. Please write in comments if you succeeded with your painting. I'm pretty sure that you did, since the picture is very easy to paint. Please put your thumbs up to this video and press the share arrow to send this video to your social media networks, Facebook and others. Send this video to the people you know who want to learn painting but are afraid to start. Send it via messengers like Viber. All this you can do by simply pressing the share button. Anyone who wants to start painting will understand that there is nothing difficult about it. When you believe in yourself, when you paint your first picture, no matter how naive and decorative it is, you will understand that you are capable of creating something really beautiful. You would feel that power of creation. You may stay with us in your further work. We have many higher level tutorials for mature artists. Just make a start and you will see it for yourself. Please join our courses at our website zartschool.ru. You may also receive individual tuition from me. For details, please write to info@zartschool.ru. You will find all the necessary links in the description box below. Once again, thanks for watching and see you in our next videos. Bye! If you want to study trees painting in more detail, you should definitely join our course, Landscape Elements Trees. During this course, you will learn how to paint trees from scratch to a professional level. On your screen, you can look through a detailed program of the course, while I will tell you all about it in a nutshell. So, our first class includes a very useful exercise. It's an integral part of the course. I'll teach you to distinguish the general shape of a tree, its tone, and color. This extremely important exercise will help you to paint various trees and make them truly different and natural. You can see a large number of elements, foliage, a tree crown, branches. Such numerous details can be confusing for a beginning artist. That's why I'll teach you how to apply easy, useful, and clear techniques so that you could learn how to distinguish the general shape of a tree and make it diverse. I also prepared a reference set that'll be of help when you will get down to your individual works and consolidate your knowledge. Another important topic is tree trunks. I'll teach you how to paint picturesque and beautiful tree trunks, how to apply interesting color combinations. I'll show you in detail what colors we opt for in the light and in the shade, in midtones and in reflexes. Covering this crucial topic will make your paintings look professionally done. On top of that, you'll learn a fast technique of branches painting. You can see how many details there are, and all of them can be created with only a few strokes. That's why it's important to know the technique of work itself. Besides, we'll cover the foreground and the background. I'll tell you how to avoid making your painting overloaded with details and how to make it truly natural and beautiful. Here is a reference picture we used as an example for this work, and you can look through all of them in your spare time. The next topic is snow. I'll tell you how to depict a beautiful snow, what shades can be applied in the light and in the shadow, in midtones, how to work with such a magnificent snowy atmosphere. The next topic is a classic tree that we all imagine when we hear a word tree. During this class, I'll show you some simple schemes in pencil. I'll teach you to distinguish the shapes of foliage and tree trunks and how to avoid common mistakes. The next topic is autumn. We will compose a beautiful autumnal palette. I'll tell you all about the colors that we will use and how to mix them to get pure, bright autumnal shades. We'll talk about the background, how to work with general spots and groups of objects, as well as how to work with the foreground and the details. Here is, by the way, the reference photo. And the final topic is a sparse forest. There are lots of details in such a forest, so I will show you how to find your way through them and see a general picture in this variety of leaves and branches. I'll teach you how to distinguish the background, the middle ground, and the foreground, as well as how to work with a large number of details. As a result, we'll get a whole and complete study of this kind. So, here at this page you can find all the details about the course in a nutshell. The course consists of 8 classes, and during these classes we will create such studies. We will cover different schemes of this type and discuss all the common mistakes a beginning artist can make. I will also show you the schemes of drawing fir trees and examples of various brushes, and will paint such cool studies that will serve you as a guidebook for your further individual work. What does the course look like in your personal account? You can see screenshots from your personal account. During our classes, a palette and a canvas are always visible. We also look through various references on a tablet. I always zoom in the details and show everything clearly. I also show how to work with different brushes, for instance, how to work with thin ones when painting minor details. And of course, here in the end are the results of our course. You can also see the works of our students here. They are absolutely thrilled by the course because it's very informative and contains all necessary information in short. No nonsense, no extra information. It's a 5-hour course filled with useful material. Please have a look at the results of our students. On top, you can see the studies that we were working on during our classes, and below are their individual works. Here are some other wonderful examples of works created during our classes and individually. Here you can see that our students managed to distinguish the general shape of a tree and paint various beautiful shapes. And look at these wonderful paintings of our students. I want to draw your attention to the fact that some of them are beginners. Nevertheless, the results are stunning. So, if you want to learn how to paint the same way, how to depict trees, I'm happy to welcome you to join our course. There are 2 options for the course application. You can pick the one that you like best. As of now, there is a special offer, so don't miss this chance. To apply for a course, you have to enter your email address right here, and then press a green button, Apply for a course. After that, following the instructions, you'll be able to pay for the course, and you will automatically get a payment notification as well as other instructions on how to start your studies. The course will be available in your personal account right after the purchase. If you have any questions, feel free to contact our support team, and I'll be patiently waiting for all of you on our course. I'll see you soon.